Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is National Master Belakis, and today we will analyze the game played in Lower Bucks County Scholastic Chess League, when LaSalle met Penn Charter. And let's see the game on the first board. Jordan was white and Christopher was black. White played e4, black played c5, knight c3, knight c6, g3. This is a Sicilian opening, and it's the closed Sicilian. White doesn't want to open up the center, and he wants to play g3, bishop g2. Black played knight f6. White stick to his plan with bishop g2, d6, d3. Now what happened so far? So far, both players, they control the center. They push a pawn on the center, develop the knights and the bishop, following the basic principles. And now black played bishop d7. The natural development move here, it will be g6, with the idea of getting the bishop out and short castle. White could play h3 to control the g4 square, f4, short castle, knight f3, bishop d7, short castle. Black could play on the queen side, rook b8, preparing b5, b4, and white could play on the king side, preparing the pawn storm, g4, f5, with queen e1, queen h4, bishop h6, trading the good bishop and the protector of the king, and knight g5. So this will be a typical plan, and this plan was designed by Spassky, and he was the master of closed Sicilian. You guys could study his games. And let's go back to our game when black played bishop d7. I think black just developed the bishop. Maybe you wanted to play queen behind, queen c8, and play bishop h3, or maybe just wanted to move the queen out and long castle. White played bishop e3. It will be interesting to play h3 first, because once you play bishop e3, black always has this extra option of knight g4 or bishop g4, like in the game. White played queen c1. It will be interesting to play queen d2. The queen is better placed on d2 because you don't block the rook in, and you could long castle also. You have an extra option. Usually you want to short castle in this type of positions, but sometimes you could long castle. White played queen c1, black played queen a5, and here we go, f4. That's the reason why white delayed the development of the knight on g1, because he wants to play f4 first and then knight f3. So f4, e5, and finally h3, bishop d7, and knight f3. Now black captured on f4. It will be interesting to play knight h5 first, or even take on f4. Black took on f4 here straight, and white captured back with the bishop. Both captures are okay. It just is when you capture with the bishop, black has this extra option of knight h5. Why knight h5 is such a good move? Usually knight on the sides, you don't want to put your knight on the side, but here the knight attacks the bishop and the pawn on g3. Now you can obviously move the bishop away, because I capture a pawn for free and I attack the rook. And if you play g4, then I take on f4, queen takes f4, and black has the bishop pair. Maybe you guys are going to hear a lot about bishop pair or reading in the books. Bishop pair is a long-term advantage. It means you have it for the rest of the game, and the more the position opens up, the more stronger the bishops. So that means black wants to trade a lot of pawns to open up the position for the bishop. Like here, white cannot capture on d4 because the knight on c3 it's pinned and you lose a piece, and black is threatening knight captures c2 fork. If you long castle, black has a beautiful queen sacrifice followed by knight d2 fork. Obviously this is winning for black because he's up a piece. Is 3 versus 2. Coming back to the game, after bishop takes f4, black didn't play knight h5, he played knight d4, and now white just short castle. It will be a question is what black will do with his king. White could have played also queen d2 and trying to prove that this queen on a5 is not very well placed. So when the knight moves away, I will attack your queen with my queen, and at the same time I could take a piece in between with check. So let's say bishop e7 and a long castle, short castle, king b1, b5, kings on opposite sides, you want a pawn storm, but then I take on d4 and then knight d5, and that's what I was trying to explain, that a queen on a5 it could be misplaced, because when you take on d2 is not with check, and I have an in-between move taking on e7 with check, and once you move the king away I pick up the queen and I have 1, 2, 3 again versus 1, 2. So that's how you go up a piece. Another interesting move for white, it will be g4 to take the h5 square away from the knight, and queen d2 again, short castle, and if you try to pawn storm again, same thing like we seen before, knight takes e7, check, and you're just up a piece again, 1, 2, 3 versus 2. So in the game, white short castled, knight takes f3, and here white captured with the bishop on f3. He could capture with the rook, with probably what I would capture, and he captured with the bishop. I don't know if he missed or he sacrificed the pawn on h3, and maybe he thought that after rook e1 he has time to push e5 and open up the e file and attack the king. But after black just long castles, white is down a piece. Let's assess this position. Well, the white king is weak. He lost 2 of his protections, to the h pawn and f pawn, and he has the g pawn, but the g pawn was pushed. All the white squares around the king are weak. All the squares around the king are weak. So the white king is weaker than the black king. Black king is much safer than the white king, and with king b8 he will be really safe. There's no problems there. White development has 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces developed. Black has 1, 2, 3. So white is up in development. White has two bishops here, which helps to protect the king. So as of now, he is okay. And white should open up these bishops, and a normal natural move after rook e1 it will be to be consistent and play e5 and try to open up the diagonals for your bishops, plus the file for your rook. So in case of pawn takes, bishop takes, now you have 2 active bishops. let's say black wants to develop. Well, after bishop d6, bishop takes d6, rook d6, you already have an entry squared for your rook anytime. You also have this diagonal for your queen, so you could play queen f4, attack the rook, or queen g5 to attack the pawn and pressure the pawn on the 5th rank. And you want to connect the rooks in the back rank. It's a little bit strange because the white position, white has to be very careful because the white king is weak. So after bishop g5, black could have played a number of moves. The safest way to go, it will be king b8. Just put your king to safety, give the move to white, and ask him, what do you want to do with bishop g5? Do you want to take on f6? Well, if you take on f6, then the g file opens up, and I will use it right away. Let's say knight d5, you attack my pawn, but who cares about the pawns when kings on opposite sides? It's all about pawn storm, opening up the files. Here the g file is already open, and I'm just going to start attacking the king. Rook takes g3 check, king f2, and rook g6, I go back, I attack your knight. If you attack my bishop, bishop h6, and finally I finish development, and I'm ready to double up the rooks on the open file. Queen e1, you want to trade queens? Well, that's not happening. I'm attacking, and I'm going to keep the queens on the board. And after bishop e6, knight d5, bishop takes, pawn takes, queen b4, I just transfer the queen, and that is just game over. Here I just want to say that yes, we do have bishop of opposite colors, but with heavy pieces on the board, the side who attacks is a piece up. So in this position, black is a piece up because he's attacking on the black squares, and he has attack on the king, and white is watching what's going on the black squares. So coming back to the game, black played c4, and white had a few options here. He could have played knight d5. Once you pin that knight, you want to attack it. So h6, now you take, and now kings on opposite sides, you want to pawn storm. So I think that was why didn't choose the right plan. The right plan here is to attack the black king and to play on the queen side. Well, if the king is on the queen side, this is the side you want to play, and you want to open up these files for the rooks. So b4, and if pawn takes, you open up the file for the rook. Yes, he has this check, but I could just simply trade queens, and the pawn still hangs on a7. I'm threatening g4 and to trap your bishop in with king h2. After king b8, g4, and I'm threatening king h2 and trap your bishop. You can save your bishop, but white is fine here because there's a pawn on h5, a passed pawn. Black has double pawns. He has 1, 2, 3 pawn islands. In compensation, he has the bishop pair, and white has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pawns, and he has a passed pawn on h5. And here, because of this h5 pawn, this white king is safe. Beautiful squares for the knight. So white is good here. No, he's a little bit better. White played d4. He didn't want to allow queen c5 check. Black played rook e8. It will be interesting again to play h6 and force this trade to open up the g file. This g file gives black a lot of counterplay and a huge attack on the king. h5 is a typical move, a typical way to activate your bishop. And king b8 again, we've seen this move. And after c3, h4. You just want to open up this file, straight pawns, and open up everything. Also, your queen will transfer here and attack the knight. So black has a very good game here. Black played rook e8, queen f4, attacking the f6 knight 2 times, and finally black played h6. He said, you want the pawn, you can have it. Bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes f6, and here black, you reach to open up the g file, but now rook g8 is no good because queen takes f7, dropping a pawn and is attacking both of the rooks here, and white has the initiative on the white squares. Obviously white will play queen d5 and queen b7 using the long diagonals, so here is not so good. Black was a little bit late with opening up the file, so here black should have played queen g5, attacking the queen and attacking the g3 pawn. If queen takes g5, pawn takes g5, knight d5, bishop goes back, and with rook h6 black is fine. If queen takes h8, probably black missed this. Queen takes g3 check, king h1, queen takes f3, king g1, and a beautiful checkmate, queen g2. So if the white is kings on opposite sides, you want to transfer the pieces on the side where is the enemy king. So queen takes f6, black played rook h7, and now white played g4, trapping the bishop. We discussed about this idea, and white played g4 really good. Now black played bishop e7. Bishop g7 is also interesting because queen takes f7 doesn't work because of bishop takes d4 check, and the rook attacks the queen. So black will just win the queen. Queen f4, and now black played h5. It's interesting move because he wants to open up the files, the g file and the h file for the rook, and he wants to save his bishop. And now white played knight d5. If white will have played e5, and he will threat queen f5 check to win the rook, and now black is in trouble. If he plays rook g7, I just pick up a pawn for free, and the bishop is pinned on the e file. If you take on g4, then I take on e7, and yes, you can take on f3 with check, and I just move my king to safety, king f2 or h2, and you have another check, and then king h3, and you have no more checks here, and now your rook hangs and the bishop hangs. So if rook takes e7, the problem is when I take here, I'm threatening queen, and I'm threatening to take the bishop. So if you play bishop c6, a queen, you have take, and then I just pick up the rook. So e5 for white. This was a crucial moment of the game. White could have played e5 and win the game. White played knight d5, which again is threatening queen f5 check again and win the rook, centralize the knight, looks good, but after black's moves rook g7, black is doing really well here because he has counterplay and he has attack on the king. So queen f5 check, it just helped black to move his king to safety. This is black's plan anyway, to move that king to safety. So a problem is you can't really run with the king out, because then I play bishop h4 check and the rook hangs. If you play king h2, then I pick up the g4 pawn, either way with the bishop or with the pawn, and now you have a problem on the h file. If you attack the rook, then I could just play rook g5 and the bishop protects the rook and my queen protects if you take on e7 with check. If you give me a queen f8 check, I play king d7, the king safe and sound here, and you still have to deal with the threats now on the king side. Here is a big pressure on the g4 pawn. Opposite colors of bishops again. The side who attacks is a piece up, and once white threats are over, black will just capture on g4 and open up the g file and then start attacking the king. So after rook g7, I played queen f5 check, king b8, and he picked up the h5 pawn, and I think in his mind was, oh, I trapped the bishop. But after bishop takes g4, this bishop on g4, it's pinned, and I think black could have just doubled up the rooks and captured the bishop on g4. Black queen can also come in on the d2. You can't really take on e7 because I can take your queen for free and your bishop is pinned. Maybe that's what white missed. Or if he plays knight d3, I take your queen again and the bishop is pinned. So this pin is a big headache for white. If you move out of the pin, I just pick up the bishop. I'm still threatening a lot of things. Queen d2, rook g2, bishop h4. Black is winning here. This is a huge attack. The white king is just way too exposed. Black played bishop d8 and he gave a move for white to regroup. Here white should have played queen f5, threatening mate right away, and the queen is protected by the pawn and the bishop. It doesn't have those problems anymore. And after bishop b6, just simply c3, covering the black squares, blocking the queen, blocking also the bishop. White is safe and sound. When you double up, I just play knight d3, and now I'm up material. I want to trade. Queen takes, pawn takes. Yes, you could get back a piece. Rook takes g4, knight takes, rook takes, and white has two rooks, black has a bishop and a rook, but black has no compensation here because white rook just goes in with check, picks up the pawn, has a pass pawn. Yes, you could pick up my pawn, but pass pawn must be pushed and king centralized, and you just can't catch or block the pawn. So white played king f1, and now black could have played the natural move rook to g8 again, and the problem is now if you play bishop f3, the queen comes in and he cuts the king on the second rank, and he's threatening rook g1 mate. So you have to protect the mate, and now white can just start picking up the pawns here, and black has huge compensation for the piece. If white plays b4 and stops the queen coming in, I could play queen a3 on the third rank, and black could just play rook g6 now, and he can take on f7, and it's very hard for white to make a move. If you play king e2, rook g2, bishop takes, rook takes, king d1, queen b2, and I'm threatening queen takes c2 checkmate. If you protect the c2 pawn, then queen takes d4 checkmate. So it's hard to make a move after rook g6. It's very easy to go wrong, and black has huge compensation here, and yes, you have to be very, very careful with white. If you block with the bishop, then I could play rook f6. Now we see the idea of rook g6, and if you block here, the bishop will join to the party, and all the pieces are attacking the king. This is a dream scenario, having this knight pin and all the pieces, like I said, attacking the king. Coming back to the game, black played queen b5, white played knight e3. He wants to trade off queens, queen c6, bishop f5, protecting the e4 pawn, c3, b3, very good. Sorry. Queen b5 check, king f2, and black made a very interesting sacrifice here. Rook captures e4. I have to give credit for black for trying, not giving up, playing a good chess here. It gives a lot of headaches for white. Probably, like after bishop takes e4, queen takes h5, the queen hangs, so that was the problem. Here white has a good move here, queen h2. So the queen will attack the d6 pawn and covers a lot of the entry squares in the same time, and is threatening to take the rook. After bishop h4 check, king f3, the rook hangs and the bishop hangs, and if rook takes e3, I could take with the king instead of taking with the rook, and when you take on f5, I take on h4, and black is down a rook. White played queen h6, attacking the rook, and now black starts his attack. Bishop h4 check, king f3, and now, like we discussed before, black had a winning combination here. Well, who protects the king? The white king is protected by the knight and the bishop. Who protects the knight? Well, the rook and the king. Who protects the bishop? The knight. So obviously black could have just captured on e3 with check, and after rook takes, queen takes f5 check, rook g3 check, and I pick up the queen. This is easy win. If you play king e2, obviously I could just play rook g2 check, king d1, and queen c2 checkmate. So black was winning. Probably black was in time trouble. That's why he didn't capture on e3, and he captured on d4. And now white is winning after queen takes g7. Queen c6 check, king e2. S was a big mistake. White, the only move it was to play knight d5 check. So after queen takes d5, you could just play bishop e4, and after queen h5 check, let's say, you could play king f4, and there's no more checks. After king e2, black could have won the game again. After rook d2, king f1. I cannot believe that black missed check mate in one. So probably black was in a big time trouble. I cannot find any explanation. This is a simple move. He played really with a lot of courage and aggressively, and he wasn't afraid to sacrifice material to attack the king. Black played rook f2 check, and after king g1, finally the white king finds safety. There's no more checks, and rook f2. It's white turn to attack. Queen c8 check, and white finish knight c4 with check. Beautiful fork here. The knight attacks the king and the rook, and I'm up material. I'm just gonna trade, and I could even take here, and this is a easy win for white. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you soon.